You think you're so smart, Robinson. I had to watch Manners. Face the cinematic claustrophobia that is the bubble.
This time we watched Season 13, Episode 12, The Bubble.
In which a new set of parents wander around aimlessly on the strangest set ever.
But first, we've got just a touch of follow-up.
Ooh, just a touch, huh?
Just a little late-breaking follow-up. We got a message right before we started recording from Alan, who writes in to say a little bit more about Edmund Hamilton, who we talked about a little while ago when we talked about Fugitive Alien.
Oh, okay.
So you'll remember we talked about on that episode how Fugitive Alien was based on a book by a guy named Edmund Hamilton.
Oh, yeah, yes, I do remember that.
Who was an early pioneer in sci-fi writing back in the day. Well, Alan wanted to point me towards Edmund Hamilton's wife, who was also an interesting writer.
Oh.
Her name was Lee Brackett. She had the nickname of the Queen of Space Opera.
Oh my gosh, I want that nickname.
She wrote a bunch of Golden Age science fiction and continued to write for movies with the director Howard Hawks, and eventually worked on an early draft of The Empire Strikes Back.
She did not.
Yes, unfortunately she passed away before it went into production, but some of what she wrote ended up in the film.
Did she get to work under her own name, or did she have to use a pseudonym as a woman writing in that sphere?
My understanding is she wrote under her own name, and she continued writing under that name after she got married in the 40s, so...
That's amazing. Can you imagine what their discussions must have been like at their dinner table?
It must have been, yeah. Pew, 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 I got you, pew, pew, pew.
Pray I do not alter it any further. Yes! I hope that's the line she put in. Woohoo!
But it's been a slow week for follow-up. It's summer. Nobody's got energy to follow up. It's hot. It's hot out there.
Yeah, when it gets really hot, it is really hard to have energy for follow-up. But if I get to read some cool sci-fi out of that one piece of follow-up, I think we still win, Chris.
Well, let's see if the bubble also leads us to some cool sci-fi, shall we?
Sure. This time we watch Season 13, Episode 12, The Bubble. The timing could not be worse for Mark and Catherine. They decide to indulge in a cabin getaway, and wouldn't you know it, Catherine goes into labor. They thought they had another month before their little baby joins the family. Oh well, they call in a charter flight, and Tony the pilot flies them out through a storm to get to a hospital. They land in a mysteriously uninhabited place, but find a hospital for Catherine to deliver in. It does not take long before Mark realizes they are trapped in a bubble. And all the other people here, because there are people, they just didn't come out at night, are like creepy zombie robot types, just ambling through their days, repeating the same words and gestures. Tom says it's like they're stuck in a GIF, and he is so right. Now, Tony the pilot definitely deserves this bubbling since after drinking a stupid amount of stolen alcohol at the local saloon, it is suggested that he then spends the night with its dancing girl who is little more than catatonic. So that's gross, and so is he. The three characters drive around in search of a plot, but only find the edge of the bubble. They walk for miles around the edge, finding no opening or weak spot. Tony disappears to make a full circuit around the bubble's edge, but has no luck finding an opening. Mark and Catherine hunker down in a bunker, then in the basement of a house, because it turns out there's a ship thing that drags people and things up into the air and maybe kills them. It's unclear, but there's lots of screaming when it occurs. Mark starts digging a tunnel to try and get under the bubble to escape. He does finally find the bottom, only to have the doctor interrupt and let him know that the food is all gone and everyone's starving. See, the people were going into a weird structure to sit in a shock treatment chair, which turns them into these zombie robot types, but they also got fed by that chair. And Mark broke it earlier when he tried to force the doctor to help him dig his tunnel rather than, zombie out. Anyway, Mark makes a big speech about how their zookeepers are no longer interested in them, which is weird because earlier he was theorizing that being kept in a bubble was no different than his regular life anyway, but it seems now he values life outside the bubble. Then it gets windy and it rains, which leads everyone to know that the bubble's been lifted and they're free to go back to their regular lives, I guess. The end.
Meanwhile, on a satellite of love... Okay, this is a Joel episode, and the bots are pitching him on Star Trek-themed breakfast foods, because there's nothing a Trekkie likes more than brekkie. Crow and Tom have mostly come up with some pretty thin puns. A glass of Sunny Q, anyone? But they get better as the sketch goes along, and soon we're drowning in Mrs. Butterworth's sticky maple-esque syrup. Yeshop! For the invention exchange, Joel and the bots have come up with exciting new popcorn toppings with the Pop Duster. Charlotte, what novelty topping would you add to popcorn? Oh, wait, no, before you tell me, just let me finish the summary. Okay, while he's doing that, Kinga and Max suggest that you can protect your glasses with Lens Be Safe, which basically puts tin cans over your lenses, so not only are your glasses safe, but you're safe from seeing the horrors of the world. The movie was originally filmed in 3D and has plenty of shots of things floating towards the camera, but we're watching a 2D print, so that's all kind of silly. But Tom, it turns out, has been seeing the world strictly through heat signatures. Here's how that works in the movie theater. Oh wait, this just in. Growler and M. Waverly are on the surface of the moon, moving rocks around for Kinga. Rocks keep falling on M. Waverly's head and changing his voice into new radio voices, so that's fun. But after some more movie, Joel's got special 3D virtual glasses for Tom called the Arch Oboler Rift. Okay, so, see, this movie was directed by a guy named Arch Oboler, and the Oculus Rift was a VR headset that got discontinued about a year before the episode came out, and, well, anyway, the headset works, but means that Tom can only see the movie, which really isn't great for his mental health. Oh, but then it turns out there's like a little switch in the back of Tom to set his vision from heat vision to vision. Anyway, this is season 13, and we're near the end of the season, so Joel and Emily and Jonah have a conference call in rhyme, because remember, Kinga and Max can't hear when people talk in rhyme, and the three hosts plot out the plan for a big season finale, which all three will host, and which will allow them to escape. So, that should be fun. And after the movie, they convince Pearl that this multi-host episode was her idea. Cynthia's also on board, as is Dr. Cabal, the mysterious financier from the future. Great! Totally sounds like it's going to be a fun holiday episode, and I'm sure we will get to that episode someday. What do you think, sirs?
So, my local store has this wonderful confection called salted egg seaweed crisps, and that's what I would want on my popcorn.
That sounds pretty frickin' good.
It's amazing. It's so salty and delicious. How about you?
I'm not even sure. I'm still excited about Lao Gan Ma, thanks to Brian David Gilbert's video from the beginning of lockdown. But I did want to say that the hot dog popcorn topping reminded me. There's a person here in Toronto named Misha Glauberman who is interesting and puts on all sorts of events and sends out a newsletter telling you what cool things are happening in the city, which is really great because it can be hard to find these things out.
Yeah.
Misha, pause for kitten food to change. Misha's got a 10-year-old son who one day every summer has a popsicle stand.
Nice. What kind of popsicles does he have? Is this like the Pop Duster where you can choose your flavor of popsicle?
You can if you are Misha's son. You've got 8 different flavors to choose from when you show up, according to this year's announcement. You've got some standard ones like watermelon and lemonade. And then you've got some non-standard ones. Obviously, you've got hot dog. Otherwise, why would I bring it up? But you've also got fun flavors like coffee, ketchup, PB&J, guac and chips, and of course, water.
Yeah, I mean, ice is really the best thing to have on a hot day. All of those flavors, except for hot dog, are totally flavors that in chip form are amazing.
Wait, have you had peanut butter and jelly chips?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, they're amazing. It's really delightful.
I don't know about that.
It's better than you think. Like, it's way better than the Uncrustables that you can get in the freezer section that they feed to American children as part of their breakfasts and lunches. But, like, the chips are really nice. But I've never had hot dog flavored chips. And I feel like this is a problem of imagination on the chip maker's part. But clearly, it's not a failure of the imagination of Misha's son.
Yeah.
Hot dog flavored popsicle. That's amazing.
It's a brilliant idea. I, of course, can't have it because of dietary restrictions. But now I'm thinking peanut butter and jelly on popcorn, it probably would work.
Of course it would work. I mean, popcorn's basically bread.
It's a starch.
Yes.
It's a neutral starch. Just put stuff on it.
Yes. Sounds delightful. I mean, what doesn't peanut butter and jelly go on? I mean, really. Wait, what kind of jelly does he choose?
I didn't go, I'm afraid.
Oh, Chris.
It was on the other side of town. You don't understand how big Toronto is and how annoying it is to get across.
Both of those things could be true, but I think it might be worth it for a little PB&J frozen confection.
I thought about it.
Well, I'm glad you thought about it. And that sounds like an amazing newsletter to be a part of, especially if you get to put in a plug for your kid's popsicle stand, right? It's like the next level up of marketing for your kid's lemonade stand where they're just on the corner.
Yeah, it's got a website and everything. Anyway, if any listeners are in Toronto that I don't know about and haven't said hi to me for some reason, I'll put a link for Misha's fantastic email service in the show notes as well.
I mean, quite frankly, our listeners might be troubled by Toronto in the same way you are. It's so big and you have no understanding of how hard it is to go across town.
Exactly. Well, what did you think about The Bubble?
The movie or the riffing? Because I have two very different opinions.
I suppose both, but also like... They open this by talking about how it's potentially even worse than Manos.
Yeah, okay. I mean, first off, I don't think Manos was terrible, especially because their riffing of Manos made it delightful and amazing.
I have seen Manos unriffed, and it's fine. Like, it's interesting. It helps that I got to know it through the riff, of course.
Sure, and you have the monologue of, and it's like I was wearing 5 pounds of butter in your head when you're watching the two ladies in the car, so it helps.
Exactly. So there is that. But, like, they've done worse movies. This is not the worst movie they've ever done by a long stretch. Though, I admit, I can understand why both Manos and The Bubble might have been annoying movies to work on if you're an MST3K writer.
I can see that entirely. Yeah, I mean, my impression of The Bubble was like, it's a Twilight Zone episode that went too long.
Mm-hmm.
That's my impression of The Bubble. So, like, in a lot of ways, like, the pacing is a little rough and it's not very enjoyable and the storyline's a little choppy. And had it been constricted to a, 25-minute plus commercial type of thing, this would have been tight and really interesting to talk about over the dinner table afterwards or something, right? And the riffing was phenomenal. Lots of fun inside of the riffing. But they've had episodes that would not have been good Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah.
Like you could not get 30 minutes of pleasure out of some of the movies that they've watched. Whereas The Bubble, totally think it could have happened.
I appreciate it, especially considering they'd already started making this comparison. There's one scene where you just see like a road, nothing's on the road, and the shot lingers for too long. Mm-hmm. But Crow starts... row your boat.
Yes.
And unlike when this happened in Manos, no one joins in this time.
Row your boat gently down the stream. Come on, guys, let's do it in rounds. Anybody?
That is the kind of fan service that I'm here for.
Yes, 100%. And it helps that it's a Joel episode, so,
Yeah.
the callbacks are real.
Yeah, no, perfectly nice episode, perfectly lovely season 13 episode.
Would not have wanted to have to be in the writer's room for this. Although, there's lots going on inside of this movie that I'm so glad they pointed out in the riffs because it's flipping absurd. Like the trampoline in the middle of the street. Like, oh, hey, this town's got a street trampoline. Never occurred to me to notice the trampoline in the background. The amusement park ride that is like the spider or the scorpion, depending on what amusement park you go to, in the middle of the street for no good reason. Yeah. Don't know that one I would have noticed because it kind of comes up quite a bit, but the street trampoline, there's no way. There's no way I would have seen that.
If you're trying to make a movie on the cheap, and you're setting it in this kind of strange space that, collects different people from different times and so forth, you can just make it a back lot, as they say, and just throw all the garbage out in the front and have fun with it. It's weird and upsetting, and these things don't go together anymore now. And also you can make everything incredibly brown.
Well, I don't think movies have had a hard time making things brown. We've had to sit through Avalanche, and we've had to sit through our Pernell Roberts Airport.
San Francisco International.
San Francisco International. Man, that movie was so brown.
I think this movie is browner. But yes.
Ooh, gosh. Now I feel like I want to see them side by side to compare the brownness.
All right. Report back.
Ooh, I don't really want to do it that bad.
So this movie prominently announces its director and writer, Arch Oboler.
Prominently, if you can read cursive, I think that's a dying art.
Well, yeah, but this is from over 50 years ago, so.
Yes, way back then, we all could read cursive, everybody.
And Arch Oboler wasn't a name that meant anything to me when I watched this episode, but when I started reading up on him a little bit, he's kind of an interesting figure, and I'm a little surprised I haven't heard about him more.
Oh, how come?
Because he seems like he was a really interesting writer that there'd be a little cult fandom around. The way there is around, I don't know, Ed Wood for movies, let's say.
Does he have a, really colorful cast of characters that goes through all of his productions, like Ed Wood did?
There are some who show up in a bunch of things, including several of the people in the movie. But Arch Oboler got his start in radio. He wanted to tell stories with, big ideas in that 1930s sci-fi kind of way.
Sure, like a precursor to The Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Well, and then he ended up having a few gigs, but his first major gig was a horror thing, which you can also do some pretty big sci-fi-like ideas in a horror context as well.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He got work on a show called Lights Out, which had a previous creator who left, and then he got the chance to take over, and he started putting out radio shows on there that were very spooky. His first episode was called Burial Services, in which a young girl was buried alive in the story, not in real life,
okay.
And was not able to be rescued. And that was a little too spicy for the audience.
Whoa, yeah. Yeah, I think that, wow. Listeners know that I'm a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and there are some nightmares where she is, buried in a coffin and has to claw her way out. And then, of course, she does after she dies and then comes back to life. But holy crap!
Yeah, imagine if she wasn't able to.
No! If you don't have Buffy super strength and you can't get out of the coffin, you're just sitting there waiting to die. Oh my gosh, it's like a Poe story, but the worst kind.
So yeah, Oboler just kept running up against audience expectations and also network expectations and sponsor expectations. Even in the 30s, he was trying to work anti-fascist, anti-Nazi messages into his work before the networks were into that, right? Before the U.S. had any involvement, and when corporate America was a little more hands-off about this sort of thing, a little neutral.
Did he have a background of having family in Europe who was having to deal with fascism and Nazis? Is that why this was such a thing for him?
His parents were Jewish immigrants from Latvia.
So this was personal to him to get these messages in there.
I mean, yeah, he cared. He had reason for caring, but so did everybody else, frankly.
Yeah, but so you sent me a couple of his radio shows to listen to. And like, I'm thinking of one of them where Olivia de Havilland was the guest star or the guest actress who was telling the story. And the point of it was very, like, it is her talking to her unborn son about his dad who died in Pearl Harbor, right? And about how this dad had to completely change his point of view. That when she first met him, he was all about himself, and all of the choices he made were choices to like put himself forward. But over the course of the show, she talks about him changing his mind and choosing to be a part of a collective action because it is the right thing to do and not because he's somebody who can benefit from it. And I feel like that message is very much an awakening call that people who wanted action to be taken in Europe were sending out. And like, yeah, it's totally propaganda. And I know I texted you this, but listeners, it worked on me. Like tears were streaming down my face as I was listening to this story of this woman talking to her unborn child. It was so moving.
Yeah. No, this was for a series he did called Plays for Americans, which I believe was 1942. And they were all propaganda plays, all of them. I don't know if you listened to any more of the ones from then.
The other one I listened to from then was the one that has, the guy from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart. It had Jimmy Stewart doing it. And it was about him as a college intellectual who, intellectually argued about, staying out of war in Europe and about how peace was more important. And then gradually coming to understand what the effect was on people who were there and then enlisting. Right. And the whole thing is told through a letter to his father trying to explain his decision about how he changed from this intellectual who was anti-war to a soldier.
Yeah. Well, did that one affect you as well?
Not nearly as much. The Olivia de Havilland talking to her child, way more.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was really into these strong themes or strong images, and potentially, talking to an unborn child, et cetera, could be could evoke bigger feelings in the listener, even if they're a bit over the top.
Oh, way over the top. Totally for the ladies.
The one that I listened to from that series was called Adolf and Mrs. Runyon.
Oh, I didn't listen to that one. What was that one about?
It starred Bette Davis.
Fabulous. Wow.
She is Mrs. Runyon. She's recently got married like a month ago. She's dropped her husband off at the train station in New York City. She's driving back to Maine to resume her life now as a teacher, as a young teacher. And she's talking to herself. She's so upset. And she's talking to her husband, but, to herself in the car.
Yes.
And then finally she gets frustrated and says, "Oh, that Hitler, mother of heaven, if only I had him here."
Ooh.
And then she picks up a hitchhiker and surprise, it's Hitler.
Stop it. Hitler's hitchhiking across the USA like Art Garfunkel.
Good God. Yes. He finally wants to truly know America. No, he thinks he's hitchhiking. Well, so he thinks he's in Germany, and he thinks all of his guards and people have disappeared, and he's cursing them out in German.
Wow.
And eventually she's like, "No, we're in America." And they have a whole conversation, and he tries to win her over, but she's like, "No, I'm going to drive the car into a concrete wall now."
Wow.
Which she does. She lives. She's fine, in fact. And there was no man in the car, says the cops who arrive on the scene. I mean, spoiler alert. You should listen to it anyway, even if you know the ending. They're acting their lives out. Bette Davis is doing a fantastic job. And the guy playing Hitler is Hans Conried, who's also the guy who would later voice Captain Hook in the Peter Pan, Disney's Peter Pan, and also do Stanley Whiplash. Great job. Great job.
Yes. Chewing the scenery on radio. That's amazing.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so intense. Like the stakes go up real high, real fast. And it's with these big, early sci-fi Twilight Zone kind of ideas of here's the big concept. Let's buckle up and drive.
Yes, yes. Here's the big concept. We're going to teleport Hitler into your car so you can have a conversation with him after you've just dropped your husband off to go to war. Dang! That is big!
Did you listen to any of the Lights Out episodes?
I listened to the two that you gave me. The cat wife one is the one that is really coming to mind. The one where it has Boris Karloff. Holy crud! Boris Karloff. You want to talk about a legend in horror. And he is married to some flippant woman and he keeps telling her, you're like a cat, you're like a cat, you're like a cat. And then she becomes a cat. And it's disturbing.
I believe the woman playing his wife is Betty Winkler, who was a big deal radio actor at the time. I don't think she ever transitioned into screen too much. She's pretty great as the wife, and then I think that's still her as the cat, and she's amazing as the cat.
She is amazing as the cat. She never shuts up. And if you've ever been asleep at 3 a.m. and woken up to a cat all over, that is what she is doing for like 20 minutes. It is, I don't know how he handled it. I don't know how he handled it.
So like these radio shows are pretty fun, pretty pulp, early sci-fi and horror stuff, I guess. And he went on to write a novel. He then wrote a bunch of movies, briefly had a TV series. He made movies, including The Bubble. He wanted to position himself as that kind of Orson Welles type, moving from radio drama into movies. But
that's why The Bubble's too long. If he wanted to be a Rod Serling, dang, like this movie would have been tight.
Well, maybe he just had a 30-minute long story mentality by that point, having written hundreds of these plays and published them. They're available as books. But maybe he just couldn't handle a feature-length movie. Like, it does get really shaky, and there's not a lot of exciting material. There's some big moments, and there's some big ideas, but, like, not enough.
Oh, yeah. There's some great big ideas in it. Again, like, if it was a tight 30 minutes, this would have been great. Like that grappling with that idea that you're never your own person, that you're always under the observation of others is a really interesting idea. And in a 30-minute structure where it's allowed time to breathe afterwards, it would have had so much more impact.
Yeah.
But maybe in the book, it does have that impact, right? Maybe Arch Oboler on the page is so much more affecting than he was able to do in this movie. I don't know.
Well, I think he only wrote one novel, which I didn't read, I'll admit. But I did look at some of the books of his plays and looked at the scripts for the episodes that we listened to. Mm-hmm. And they often start with like some really, to my ears, generous advice about like, here's what went into the making of these. Here's what went into the recording of them. Here are things to think about if you, reader, go and do this. Like they have that kind of you could do this too vibe to them that I appreciate.
Like you could be an author as well, or you could be, oh, that is really cool.
Anyway, he seems like a neat guy. Maybe there is a whole cult around him that I don't know about. Maybe the Arch Oboler fan club is very active. I just hadn't heard of him, and I'm once again glad that MST3K and its movie selection has pointed me to somebody who seems kind of neat. Am I going to sit around and read a bunch of Arch Oboler? No, but I'm glad I've encountered, a few hours of his work other than The Bubble.
Yeah, I feel like he shines more in the things that you shared with me than he did inside of The Bubble. The Bubble is not a very generous entry into his work.
So I guess this whole bubble thing is aliens keeping humans under a bubble so that they can watch them like it's this kind of zoo?
Question mark? It's never really explicitly fleshed out, which is, should make it all the creepier, but in the movie isn't as affecting as the idea of, hey, we just took a bunch of people and threw them in a glass jar and built an ant farm around them all to go through the motions.
Yeah, an ant farm. They weren't really that underground. But
no.
I guess I see what you mean.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's different than, like if you're imagining this bubble coming down and capturing a city, Like, that's not what really happened. Like, there's these couple of people, like, you know, Mark and Catherine and Tony, who got caught in the bubble, but otherwise everybody else was curated and placed there to look like they were going through their regular lives, right? Like, but it's a fiction. Like, all of the people who are there are inside of this weird shock treatment, so they're not really going through their regular lives. So it's, I don't know, it's a little bit different than just, hey, there's, like we all did as kids. I don't know, Chris, you weren't an outdoorsy kid and you lived in the city, so maybe you didn't. But the whole idea of like capturing a grasshopper inside of a glass jar and being able to look at it for a while.
Right.
Like, it has that thought behind it, this bubble. But there's also this thought that you could curate the experience of what's going on inside for the people.
Yeah, it's like the Truman Show.
You know, that's a really interesting way to think about it. I didn't think about the Truman Show when I was thinking about this, but you're right. But that was created by people who knew what they wanted life to look like and understood it. You know, like, things weren't such a mishmash jumble. It looked like a real town, right? An idealized town, to be sure, but it looked like a real town and everybody matched each other and the houses matched each other. Where in this movie, nothing does. So, like, it feels like a glass jar has been put down, but there's such a hodgepodge of what's inside. It hasn't been curated like the Truman Show or like a zoo would be, right? Like a zoo exhibit where you can look at people. And that was the idea that was fascinating to me as I was thinking about this.
Do you want to be a zoo animal?
So, like, sometimes I feel like Mark, where I'm like, wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be easier to just be in a place where my needs were taken care of and I didn't have to struggle, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's such a beautiful fantasy about that. And there's this idea that maybe if you're in a zoo and you're kept in some sort of way, that your needs are being taken care of by other people and other people are monitoring your health and like that there's some sort of comfort in that. But it ends up, like, in all of these, in this movie, The Bubble, like, it drives them crazy because they don't know what's going on. And because there's nothing for them to do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason they're going crazy or something else, but, like, because the movie doesn't really explain, and that's fine.
Sure.
You know, something's
Sure.
going off. No, they're not being kept in a way that the people inside are able to thrive.
Yeah. Well, because there's this thought that the people that are putting together this bubble don't really understand people, right? Like, it's such a mishmash. So I was thinking of maybe another depiction of a human zoo. And of course, like, I know I keep talking about the bubble having been, it would have been better if it was a 30-minute Twilight Zone episode. There is a Twilight Zone episode about a human zoo.
Oh.
And it stars Roddy McDowall. You know how we love him. Roddy McDowall is so amazing.
I know how much you want to trap him under glass.
This seems so cruel now, but he's such an amazing actor. He really is. So,
Okay.
But the Twilight Zone episode is about Roddy McDowall as a biologist and another astronaut are sent to Mars. And Roddy McDowall has a huge fear of actually having to leave the spaceship once they arrive on Mars. Even though he's a biologist, he wasn't chosen because he's interested in being, you know, like a Captain Kirk or a Captain Picard out to explore the galaxy. So he's kind of a weird fit for this mission. But anyway, he eventually gets out of the spaceship and he's like, oh, the Martians look just like us. They're just people in different outfits.
Uh-oh.
He comes out, he's like, oh, you're just like us. Just like, you know, my friend the astronaut was talking about, like, people everywhere are the same. There's no reason to be afraid. So, yeah, they're the same. And they take him to a place. They're like, oh, we've created this place that we think will make you feel really comfortable. And he walks into it and it's a house, right? Like it's a 50s house, Like, it's immaculate. It has a kitchen. It has, gas stove. It's got food in the fridge and cigarettes and booze and a bar. And it's got drapes and couches. All the things a guy needs.
All the things.
All the things. And they leave him in there like, oh, we'll just leave you to get comfortable. And then he realizes, of course, that all the doors are locked and there are no windows. And then, the walls open up and they have bars in front of them. And he's a zoo animal.
Aww.
And they made this home to look just like a house on Earth, which they, of course, learned about from his brainwaves, whatever. But like the conceit is, oh, it's a new animal that's flown all this way to our planet. We're going to put him on exhibit for everybody to take a look at. There's another short story I read by Koch, I think is the last name of the author. I'll find it online and put a link in the show notes. But it's just like a page and a half long about this spaceship that comes to town once a year into Chicago, and all these people pay $1 and the doors of the spaceship open up and it has aliens from another planet. And these people just walk through, like thousands and thousands of people pay their $1 to see the aliens, right? And then it goes to a bunch of different cities and then it takes the aliens back home. And at the end of the story, spoiler, the aliens paid to go on the spaceship to see the people.
Right.
So it's a zoo that works in both ways, where the zookeeper is collecting from both sides. It's not the curated experience, but it's that idea of we're interested in seeing and learning and experiencing, but a zoo isn't really that. It's just not.
Well, ideally, you're going to a zoo and you're learning things and you're seeing things, but...
It's true, but I'm not going to go to a zoo and interact with a tiger.
Well,
I don't want to. Please, I do not want to get in the cage with the tiger and be like, ooh, tiger, pet my...
No, but hang out with the dolphins.
There are people who pay for those kinds of experiences inside of the wild, right? Where you can swim with dolphins. And snorkeling is amazing. Okay, it's true.
Yeah, snorkeling is like nature's zoo.
I guess. It's not a curated experience.
No, I suppose that's true.
Right? You're going into the wild and seeing animals where they are. And the best of zoos these days do try to create that experience of the wild for animals that I guess wouldn't be able to live in the wild on their own. But it's definitely a subject that is fraught with difficulties.
Yeah.
Because we don't treat animals like people.
Right. As you're describing these sort of human zoos for aliens, I was, of course, thinking about Slaughterhouse-Five, which we talked about a little while ago, where Billy Pilgrim ends up inside of a bubble with aliens all around, and they bring up a attractive film star, let's say, adult film star.
They give him a companion, as it were.
To be a companion for him, yeah, because they want to watch that, because they're interested in that sort of thing, I suppose.
Sure. Who isn't, huh?
It's an interesting book. But we've already talked about that a bit. I was trying to think if there was anything else in terms of human zoo stuff that was good. And this I didn't know about until I started looking for it. But do you know about the bit from Mary Poppins?
Bit from Mary Poppins? Like the books?
Well, it's from the it's not from the movie. It was cut from the movie. But there's a song that was cut from the movie.
Oh.
That's on this theme.
About human zoos? I do not. Tell me more.
So it's from the scene where they love to laugh long and hard and they have a tea party and everybody floats to the sky. Right.
Yeah.
As part of that, Mary Poppins was supposed to sing a song to the kids called The Chimpanzee.
Okay.
Which starts in Timbuktu. There's a chimpanzee that's run by a chimpanzee. It's an oddish place where the human race is under lock and key.
Oh my gosh.
We have a recording of somebody doing the song, and we have the idea of they were going to, she was going to sing it and they were going to cut to an animated part that was going to show this. But you've got the idea of oh yeah, no, there's a place where the animals get to be the superior ones and get to put the humans in these little cages and so forth.
Oh
and,
my gosh.
Laughs, nothing but laughs. But who's laughing at who? It's the animals there who giggle and stare at you in the chimpanzee.
Oh my
is the chorus.
Gosh. I would have loved to have heard Julie Andrews sing that song. That sounds great. Although I mean, it brings Planet of the Apes to mind, not to have Roddy McDowell on the brain or anything, but like in Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston and his friend who survives the crash and some other humans are put in cages, and the apes who run the Planet of the Apes are trying to learn about them and trying to understand how they're different and understand themselves in contrast to these humans who live on the same planet as them. So, like, it's not the idea of a zoo where it's a curated experience, but it's more of that almost lab animal feel. I don't know. Humans in prison, like, is a very different vibe than humans in zoos. Maybe? Ooh. So I don't want to go dark there. Let's not go there.
Depends if there's an audience.
Yeah, it depends if there's an audience, but yeah, I don't want to talk about prisons, actually, Chris. We should not talk about prisons, because in our most idealized fantasy, zoos are not prisons, right? Zoos are good for the animals as well as the people who are looking at them. So the idea of the chimpanzee is going to be that it's just as good for the people in the zoo as it is for the chimpanzees who are learning about them. But
well, now, yeah, but in the 60s,
no, that would not have been the case.
Necessarily how zoos were set up.
Which means it's such a weird thing for Mary Poppins to bring up.
Well, and they cut it because maybe because of that, but also because they felt that scene was fun enough as it was. It was just going to get a little draggy. And unlike Arch Oboler, Walt Disney knew when to cut.
Hey, Chris, I've got something to say.
Okay.
I object. I object to this movie's description of childbirth and parenting an infant.
Okay. Do you want to be more specific for our listeners?
Okay. Yes. Yes, I do. The Catherine character inside of this movie, she's talking with presumably her husband, Mark, and she describes childbirth as a sexy bellyache.
Taking all this too seriously. After all, now, what's childbirth? Just a sexy bellyache.
Is it?
I absolutely cannot, Chris. I cannot.
Well, all right. Let's just accept that different people find different things sexy.
Okay, yeah, but I just feel like a bellyache usually can't be described as sexy. And
Again,
I mean, yes, different people can find different things sexy. I totally understand. But also the process of birth, having gone through it and having watched my partner's face watch me go through it, sexy's not the first word that came to our minds.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
In fact, I would actually say that there were no words that came to my mind for a really long time. But also a bellyache?
A bellyache is weird. And look, it's a line that's meant to be clever that really kind of fails.
Sure, it's supposed to comfort him into thinking it's not a big deal. I object. It is okay for men to think that birth is a big deal because it kind of is.
Do you think she was trying to convince him that it wasn't a big deal, or herself?
Well, he was the one who seemed like he was having this, like, oh, we got to get to a hospital, blah, 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 blah. Like, he was all worked up, and she was like, honey, this is just a sexy bellyache.
No, it's true. He definitely was emotionally all over the place in that moment.
I mean, he's emotionally all over the place throughout the entire movie, so let's not, that's not a one moment thing, that's a whole movie thing. That's like, might be his whole persona. And she's supposed to be like calm, and so when she has big emotional outbursts, it's kind of a big deal, but she doesn't have one around giving birth. She, again, sexy bellyache. I would describe it as neither of those things. It is not sexy, or I did not find it so. And I would not describe it as a bellyache. It's a little bit more than that.
So I will say that the actor playing Catherine is named Deborah Wally. She was perhaps better known a few years earlier for playing Gidget in Gidget Goes Hawaiian.
I love Gidget Goes Hawaiian. I didn't recognize her.
Yeah, that's her. But after that movie came out, she got pregnant. And then she gave up her right to play Gidget again, because that's simply not a Gidget thing to do now, is it?
No, it's really not. Gidget can barely kiss and still be Gidget.
Exactly. Although she does star with Tommy Kirk of Catalina Caper fame in Ghost of the Invisible Bikini, which is one of the last of the beach movies from the 60s.
Whoa.
Came out about the same time as The Bubble.
Great title, by the way.
Yeah, I don't believe it's supposed to be a very good movie. But my point is that Deborah Wally, who was on set and even had to say the lines, had gone through childbirth.
And yet could still say that line with a straight face. She is a master of her craft. No question.
Or the opposite, but yes.
She played Gidget. Certainly, like that line, absolutely misleading about childbirth. Not the only misleading thing that they talk about childbirth or parenting, though.
Uh-huh.
Second, in the hospital, moments after birth. Okay, not moments after birth, because the child's already in an incubator. And like her husband's at her bedside, like comforting her, like, oh, like childbirth, you did a great thing. And then he looks at her and he says, and you've got your figure back. I object.
Yeah.
That is not the way that works. Your body does not just boing, go right back to where it was right before childbirth. I don't know what kind of weird expectations Arch Oboler has about what bodies do, but that is emphatically not true. I don't think I'm unique in that.
Hear me out. Maybe, and you may be right, but also maybe, absolutely maybe, it's not so much Arch Oboler's sense of what bodies do immediately after pregnancy, but what men are supposed to tell their wives after birth is that, oh, now you're skinny again and you're hot. Let's make it sibling for this newborn, which is also weird. Still weird.
Totally
but
weird.
You can see how in the 60s, maybe some guys did do that. I don't know. Guys were weird in the 60s.
I mean, I'll have to take your word for it, as I was not there. Neither were you. It's weird.
I wasn't, but my father was. And,
Do you think your father turned to your mother and said, and now you've got your figure back after you were born?
I mean, he might. That was in the 70s, but he might have. I wouldn't 100% put it past him. I doubt he did.
I mean, the thing is, your body just doesn't bounce back that quickly. And, granted, like, we also see her, like, a couple of scenes later, and she no longer looks pregnant. So I guess you have to set for a movie the expectation that she now doesn't have to walk around like having 9 months of a period after giving birth with her child, right? Like, there's nothing in the town that's going to help her with that. But, like, she can't have her body change over the course of the movie. Pretty much she needs to walk out of the hospital with one body that's going to stick with her for the rest of the movie. But that's just not the way it works. It takes time. It takes time for your body to, in some way, go back to something resembling what you once looked like before you had child.
Sure. Well, wait. So, okay, now I have to think, I've never been in the room when somebody gave birth.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Not your bag, so you could have if you wanted to, I'm sure.
Yeah. There's lots of reasons. Look,
Yeah.
I can sneak into a hospital room with the best of them, but I choose not to, okay? I choose not to. It doesn't seem right.
Sure.
But, so what happens to the distended belly after, the voiding of the child?
I mean, over a long period of time.
No, I mean, yes. No, I understand if it takes a while for it to sort of get back to normal, but like, is it just like a hot water bottle sack hanging down for a bit? And other sensitive terms to describe a
Yes.
woman in the most precious day of her life or something. I don't know.
Yes, it's a precious moment. Totally a figurine for this.
The immediately postpartum precious moments figurine. All right, I'm back on. I'm going to buy that one. If it's anatomically correct.
Oh, you just stop. Could you imagine? It takes a while for your skin to go back, but your skin never really goes all the way back. Like, well, at least for me, it didn't. Some women are very lucky. They're much more elastic than I was. I have amazing stretch marks, right?
Yeah.
Those stretch marks are still there, and there are scars from my belly having to grow too fast. And, I am not unique in having scarring, but there are some women who don't. But that's all part of like your belly kind of going back to the way that it was before you had kids, right? But it takes time for that to occur because your belly, having a child inside of your body moved all of your organs.
Yes.
Right? So those organs don't immediately snap back into place, right? It takes some time for them to move back to where they're supposed to be. It takes some time for your uterus to contract down, right? Like, these are not immediate things. They are not like, and now I will be wearing my size whatever jeans that I wore 10 months ago. It doesn't work that way. So it's not comforting to have somebody say to you, and now you have your figure back.
Okay, but what if it did work that way and it was like if a chiropractor adjusted your spine and with like a giant snap and all of your organs went back into their original position?
That sounds so painful, Chris.
It would be super painful, but it would be over fast. You take that Faustian bargain?
This is not as childbirth was created, right? Like, even if
we can agree that pregnancy and childbirth is badly designed. Like, it works.
Yes.
Mostly.
Yes. And so the fact that it takes a little while and no pain for your body to return to some semblance of pre-childbirth, I'll take the no pain little bit of time thing going on.
All right. Some people.
The hormonal stuff is really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this poor woman in the bubble, like, she's got to have some postpartum depression going on. And she also lives in a bubble with her husband who's like, I'm under everybody's eye anyway. Why the hell not stay here? And she's like, they're going to take my baby, you big dumb f***. Come on. Like, have a little investment in this. Like, there's got to be a lot going on for her hormonally. And also, so she breastfeeds.
Which is interesting that we see that.
And, well, sort of see it. Sure, we see the suggestion of it.
We see enough of it. Like, that's not a thing that normally shows up in movies on MST3K.
That is true.
I can't think of another episode. I could be wrong, but I can't think of another episode where there is that much of a breastfeeding scene.
It's true. But, so breastfeeding takes an enormous amount of calories.
Mm-hmm.
And we never see them eat. It's weird that they choose to show breastfeeding but never eating.
It's weird. Well, they talk about
getting food from the store.
They find an apple at some point, don't they? Or, yeah, they talk about some of the food they found. So they do at least mention it.
Yeah, because there's a store that was totally stocked with food.
Yeah.
It's just that nobody who lives in the town actually needs the food. But breastfeeding mother needs food. Absolutely needs food, right?
Yeah.
So she's got to be eating a lot more. There's no crying for the baby.
No, they couldn't afford it.
They couldn't afford a crying baby. That's fine. Like, it's every person's dream to have a baby that doesn't cry incessantly and sleeps all the way through the night. But I didn't know you could get a child who sleeps all the way through the movie, occasionally looks up and eats a little bit, and that's about it. And also, where are the diapers? I object to so much. Like, why have a baby in this movie if you're not actually going to address the fundamentals of childbirth, child feeding, child rearing, and all of the disgusting elements that go along with that?
Yeah, well, Arch Oboler did have 4 kids. But maybe,
Maybe he parented in that 50s style where you hand out cigars from outside the room as your woman's given childbirth.
And then never see the kids again. Yes.
And then be at work the whole time that they're being reared and not in the home to actually see the way it is. It just seems like the whole point of having her need to give birth was so that they would have to land in the bubble and not be part of the curated scene. But they're not dealing with the actual realities of childbirth or babies.
Well, and also to have that moment where she asks him to kill the child if things get bad rather than let him be taken away by the aliens.
Yes.
Which I feel like that is the scene that the movie was built around, let's say.
Yeah, because she did see the other mother get pulled up with the
Yep.
baby because it doesn't fit in the carefully curated idea of what should be happening in your human zoo.
Maybe. Who knows? Hard to say.
Yeah.
We don't really get the alien's point of view from it. But we also don't get the mother's point of view from, we don't get Catherine's point of view from it either, really. This is not a movie that focuses on her in particular.
No, though she would have had some similar life experiences in terms of being watched and having school and having parents and, being watched by her husband all the time. The philosophical argument of are you always on display for somebody else's view is still just as vital for her as it is for Mark.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think it would have been a better movie if it had been focused on her, but...
Or at least given her another 45 minutes of the movie instead of, street trampoline.
Well, and in fact, this movie is an edited version of the movie because when it first came out, it was about 20 minutes longer.
Stop it. More street trampoline.
Yeah, my understanding is that basically everything that got cut out was more street trampoline nonsense and things that just did not need to be there. It's not like they cut out the reason the movie ends.
No.
Because the movie just ends.
No, it does. Which, quite frankly, if you were trapped in a jar and the aliens lost interest and just pulled the jar up.
My point is that the movie doesn't give any reason for the aliens to have lost interest.
No. Well, I mean, as an audience member, I lost interest a long time ago. Well, Chris, we've talked a lot about zoos and Arch Oboler and horror and sci-fi and maybe you have a final factoid to share with our audience to help us wrap things up?
Yeah, I guess so. There's one familiar-ish face in the movie that belongs to the person who probably had the most interesting career in the film. Can you guess who that is?
The doctor.
No, the cab driver.
Oh, it's Ernest Borgnine from Escape from New York.
It is a guy named Vic Perrin.
Also a good name.
Who is mostly known for his voice. He did a lot of work in radio, including a lot of work with Arch Oboler back in the day.
And Paul Frees?
I don't know if he ever worked with Paul Frees, because Paul Frees kind of ended up in a slightly higher animation studio than he did. Paul Frees ended up in Disney, and Vic Perrin ended up in Hanna-Barbera and Filmation.
Oh.
So he played quite a number of random characters in all sorts of Hanna-Barbera and Filmation shows. He was the voice of Hawkman in some of the Superman animated things.
Part of the Justice League, yes.
Yeah. And he was Dr. Zinn on Johnny Quest, and he played a bunch of people in random episodes of Scooby-Doo.
Did he ever get to be in He-Man?
Alas, no. But he was in the Smurfs at one point. And he was perhaps best known for being the narrator for the TV show The Outer Limits.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. He was like the Rod Serling-esque voice for The Outer Limits.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, nice.
So, really interesting, fun career. Not maybe the most spectacular headlining career most of the time, but got to work on a lot of fun stuff, and that's really appealing to me.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, and being able to do voices for animation and then for Outer Limits, that sounds great.
Yeah, so that's why when the taxi driver in The Bubble says, "Cab, mister," I mean, it just hits.
Cab, mister?
What's the name of this town? Where are we?
Cab, mister?
If you've been affected by the issues on this show, if you're trapped in a bubble and about to give birth, or if you'd like to ask us anything, get in touch with us. Our email is info@itsjustashow.com, and we're on Blue Sky. And as always, we'd love to hear from you. This show is made possible by listeners like you, and like our randomly selected supporter, Christian. Thank you, Christian. For about $1 an episode, you too can be like Christian and help us research and record this show. You can join us in a friendly Discord, and you can listen to all our superfan bonus bits. Find out more at itsjustashow.com/Patreon or patreon.com/itsjustashow. And if you want to follow up with anything that was mentioned today, you'll find links in our show notes at itsjustashow.com/episode/180.
Chris, we can't stay in the bubble forever. We must watch something else. What's coming up next on It's Just a Show?
Well, we've got another Joel episode with Season 5, Episode 7, I Accuse My Parents.
Yay! That's such a good episode, as I recall.
Well, you'll have to rewatch it and find out just how good it is. It's also got a short, The Truck Farmer, which is also pretty fun. But until then...
If someone wants to rapture us into heaven, they're going to have to catch us first.
Cricks, Nicks, Arch Oboler picks. Take it away, Theme Squad.
Don't you know it's just a show? Don't you know it's just a show? Don't you know it's just a show?